While helicopter crashes are not deadly like plane crashes due to the limited numbers of passengers they carry, there are some helicopters that carry more than 100 passengers, and their crashes could make them deadly more than most airplanes. The heaviest military helicopters can carry up to 150 passengers and often fly on dangerous routes, performing high-risk tasks in hostile environments that could be accompanied by bad weather conditions. Here are some of the deadliest helicopter crashes ever. But before we jump into our list, be sure that you have subscribed and hit the bell icon to keep yourself informed with amazing videos. With that done, let's jump into our incredible list. 2020 Calabasas helicopter crash. Even though it has the least number of victims on this list, it is notably the most popular helicopter crash to be known for this day. This crash will be remembered in large part due to a single death of NBA legend Kobe Bryant. But adding to the tragedy, his 13-year-old daughter Gianna and several others also lost their lives at the same incident. On January 26, 2020, a Sikorsky S-76B helicopter crashed in the city of Calabasas, California, around 30 miles northwest of downtown Los Angeles, while en route from John Wayne Airport to Camarillo Airport, and all 9 people on board were killed. The tragedy set off a wave of memorials, not just in the NBA but in the MLB, NFL, NHL, and European soccer, with AC Milan honoring Kobe before a match days later. Presidents Trump, Obama, and Clinton, then presidential candidate Biden, all commented on the tragedy. Investigation from the National Transportation Safety Board determined that the probable cause of this accident was the pilot's decision to continue flight under visual flight rules into instrument meteorological conditions, which resulted in the pilot's spatial disorientation and loss of control, and self-induced pressure and the pilot's planned continuation bias, which adversely affected his decision-making. Tachira helicopter crash. One of the worst helicopter disasters in South American history occurred on May 3, 2009, when an Mi-35 military helicopter crashed near Tachira in Venezuela, resulting in the death of all 18 occupants. The dead included 1 brigadier general, 2 army pilots, 14 other army personnel, and 1 civilian. The cause of the crash remains the subject of speculation. However, poor weather conditions are cited as a possibility. The crash occurred just days after Colombian President Álvaro Uribe asked for Venezuelan assistance in eliminating FARC guerrillas on the Venezuelan side of the border. It is not yet known if the crash is linked to intensified Venezuelan military operations against the guerrillas. The 2007 Paramount Airlines MiG-8 crash. On June 3, 2007, an Mi-8 helicopter crashed in an area close to Lungi International Airport in Sierra Leone. The incident is thought to have resulted in the death of 22 people. The passengers were Togolese football fans returning from a match with Togolese Minister of Sports, while the 2 pilots were Ukrainian. 1 Russian co-pilot survived. According to an eyewitness, both pilots jumped out immediately prior to the crash. The aircraft caught fire upon impact and was destroyed before firefighters were able to extinguish the flames. The firefighters did not attend the scene until 40 minutes after the crash, because the firefighter who had the keys to the fire truck was not at his station in the airport at the time. Airport staff had to douse the flames with buckets of water. The 2002 Kankala Mi-26 crash. Russia has a long and complicated relationship with many former Soviet states. On August 19, 2002, a group of Chechen separatists armed with a man-portable air defense system brought down a Russian Mi-26 helicopter in a minefield, which resulted in the death of 140 Russian soldiers, marking the greatest loss of life in the history of helicopter aviation. It was also the most deadly aviation disaster ever suffered by the Russian armed forces. The missile hit one of the engines as the Mi-26 was approaching Kankala, and the helicopter crash landed in a minefield that made up part of the federal military headquarters' perimeter defenses. Some of the survivors, attempting to abandon the wrecked Mi-26, are reported to have been killed by friendly, anti-personnel mine explosions. Only the crew of 5 and 29 passengers managed to escape through the small cockpit exit hatch. 14 of the survivors died over the next few days from severe burns. The 1997 Israeli helicopter disaster. It was a day of mourning of a nation when the Israeli helicopter disaster occurred on February 4, 1997, when two Israeli Air Force Sikorsky S-65C-3 transport helicopters ferrying Israeli soldiers into Israel's security zone in southern Lebanon collided in midair, killing all 73 Israeli military personnel on board. The crash brought about widespread national mourning, and it is considered a leading factor in Israel's decision to withdraw from southern Lebanon in 2000. The cause of the middle air collision has yet to be definitively ascertained. An Israeli investigation managed to find that the main rotor of one of the S-65s had struck the tail of the other, triggering the disaster. The first one immediately crashed, while the crew of the other attempted to take control of it, but failed, and it crashed as well. The 1986 British International Helicopters Chinook crash. On November 6, 1986, a Boeing Vertol Model 234LR Chinook helicopter returning workers from the Brent oil field crashed on approach to land at Sumburgh Airport in the Shetland Islands. At 2.5 miles from the runway, the helicopter had a catastrophic forward transmission failure, which caused the tandem rotor blades to collide. The helicopter crashed into the sea and sank. 43 passengers and 2 crew members were killed in the crash. Only 1 passenger and 1 crew member survived with injuries, marking it as the deadliest helicopter disaster in European history. The 1977 Israeli Air Force Sikorsky CH-53C Stallion crash. 2 of the worst accidents in helicopters' history incidentally took place in Israel. 20 years before the Lebanon CH-53's mid-air collision, another CH-53D Sea Stallion helicopter was involved in a crash during an exercise operation in the Jordan Valley, killing all 54 on board. The cause of the crash has never been discovered. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and then subscribe. You can also watch other videos from this channel by clicking on those popping videos.